Hello and welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Renovators, the business advisory show for real estate professionals.
You got it.
I got it right. And with me today, I have my fellow co-host, Persian Princess. You know, we need to think of another name, but everyone knows him. Australia's favourite lawyer, Mr. Rex Afrasiabi. How are we, Rexy?
Wow. I'm very well. Yourself? I'm
Not
drinking
bad.
today, which is great. Chris Christofi, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, guys.
Welcome.
Pleasure. Those that may or may not know Chris started Reventon. Reventon is a real estate agency that turned into a full-service financial services business. So not only did they start, they got real estate, they've got financial planning, accounting, mortgage broking, and everything else. So, Chris, let's talk about you, mate. How did you start?
Well, it was a pleasure being on the show, so thanks for having me. Started in real estate quite a long time ago, almost 25 years ago when I was 19. Worked for a Brisbane-based developer, fell in love with real estate, became absolutely obsessed. 3 years later, I was running a business as a national manager. I was recruiting in-home consultants. I was selling and making sure that the company grew in terms of their sales. And then I thought, you know what? I would like to do this by myself. The company I was working for went into receivership at the time anyway, so it kind of coincided with my thought process. I had a bit of a downturn. I lost everything that I had at the time because the company owed me $780,000. Had to move back into my parents' house, but I thought I know how to sell real estate. I know how to build brands, so let's give it a go. I backed myself. So I was 24 at the time. Moved back into my parents, had a debt of $348,000. I thought it's a good time to start a real estate company.
How was the transition from being, excuse the language, screwed over by your boss, and now setting up your own business?
Well, looking back, it was one of the best things that happened to me because it proved that I can be resilient, and I knew that I had to roll up my sleeves and work hard. So at the time, one of the hardest things was my son at the time was a year old and he contracted bacterial meningitis. He was hospitalized for 2.5 years and almost died. So all of these things happened at once. But I thought to myself, I need to show my son a good example of how not to quit and how to move forward. So I rolled up my sleeves. I bought 10 leads. I sold 2 pieces of real estate. I used that money. I bought 20 leads and I just repeated that process. My goal was to make sure that I paid off all my debt, was to build a property arm fully integrated to make sure that people have the right advice to make smart investment decisions. So what started as a real estate firm 17.5 years ago grew into a finance arm, property management, financial planning, accounting, and we've just integrated all those services. So 17.5 years later, I'm proud to say we've helped over 3,200 Australians. We've sold well over $1.4 billion worth of real estate. We've featured in over 50 major publications, won over 30 industry awards. I have an amazing team behind me, and I knew even back then that with the right work ethic and what I've learned, we can build something special. So that was always the goal at 24, 25. It was a hard pill to swallow when they say eating humble pie. I was eating humble pie for breakfast, lunch and dinner when I was 24, 25 years old. But I knew if I worked hard, light was at the end of the tunnel. So being passionate about real estate, I knew it was only a matter of time. So here we are.
Yeah. Can I ask, Chris, drawing it back a little bit here, so you've moved home, you've got $300,000 of debt. It is so easy to stay in such a dark place. What was the mentality behind getting out of that darkness and then stepping into success after success after success? How did you feel when you were that low, and what sort of really got you out of bed to start up Reventon?
Well, look, it was hard work. I was also going through my first relationship breakup, so I was engaged at the time when I had my son. And I don't think it was possible. I have a Cyprian mother, so she would never let that happen. She goes to me. I was going home thinking I'm going to get a bit of love and a bit of a hug and tea. So she goes, look at you now. What are you going to do now? Who's going to want you? You better get out of this. Snap out of this, son. So I had the good old tough love there. But also, I wanted to show my son that quitting's not an option. Was it hard? Did I think of quitting? Did I think of going bankrupt? Sure. I was 24 years old at the time. But also, I realized that real estate was a pathway to wealth. I bought 8 properties from 19 to 24.
8 properties?
Yeah, and I knew that I could repeat a successful process. But my strategy was good if the market was going well, if my properties were tenanted 52 weeks a year, if my income was circa about $300,000 at the time because I was selling for a big firm, if that came in. So my strategy was very, very good if all my conditions were working. And lending was a lot easier 17 years ago. Now it's a lot harder to get lending, so I got all that money. But through learning all those lessons, I developed now what I call the Reventon formula, which is a safe way to invest and build your wealth brick by brick. I also wrote a Amazon best-selling book about this, which I like to share with people. It's called Your Path to Wealth Brick by Brick. And it teaches people how to invest, how to find the right team, how to not over leverage. So all the things that I learned when I was 24 and all the mistakes that I made, yes, I had some unfortunate circumstances like not being paid, but I was over leveraged. So what I learned from that is making sure that my clients don't over leverage, that the first property is the most important one they buy because it's a stepping stone to your second, third, fourth and fifth. So when I wrote that book, I was actively doing an experiment as well. And not only did I say that these systems and structures works, I was actively buying real estate. So for over a 3-4 year period, I bought 15 pieces of real estate using the exact formulas that I wrote, had a 100% success rate over multiple locations that brought in over $2 million worth of growth and $150,000 worth of passive income. So while I'm telling people, go invest, this is the right way to do it, here's the strategy, I'm helping clients, I was actually using the exact same strategy. And when I speak in seminars, I actually highlight the properties I bought, where I bought them, the builders, the developers, so I can talk about it with confidence.
Can you share some of that knowledge? Like some of those secrets?
I
Where
share all
were you
uses
buying?
this because from my understanding, you never buy where you live. You just buy it.
I rent. I've been
renting. Always
renting.
rents.
Yeah.
So I'm a rent investor. I was rent investing since I was 19. I've owned 2 homes that I've lived in. I sold them a year later because 100% of my money is tax efficient. I buy in areas that are prime for growth. I live where I want to live. I live up the road, as we mentioned prior to onset, because it's convenient, it's near work. But I don't want to tie up my capital. I want to be nimble. I want to live where I want to live. Now, this is becoming very, very prevalent now because people can't afford to buy in the areas they want to live. So they're buying in, whether that be regional, Victoria, interstate, which is actually a better strategy because you're getting a higher rent return, you're getting 100% tax efficient debt. So you're looking at being a rent investor. I was a rent investor before the term was even coined. We're talking 23 years ago. Now, it was the right strategy for me to employ at the time, and it's one that I've just keep duplicating. Now, I understand people want to buy real estate where they want to live because they're emotional and they want to have my own home. I get that. And they go, Chris, is that right or wrong? I said, I'm not going to say it's right or wrong. Financially, categorically, it's not the smartest way to invest your money or make money, but what's right or wrong for you might be different. If that's what you emotionally want to do, I advise you to do it. But what I want you to know is the difference if you do this or that. Let me give you all the knowledge. Let me tell you the difference between reinvesting and buying, and then you pick what's right or wrong. I'm not the person that says to you, buy a house and land because house and land's better. Buy a townhouse because townhouse better because that's all I sell. I sell all products and I educate them on the differences, the benefits, the pros and the cons, so to speak, and I let my clients make the decision. So my goal is not to sell anything to my clients. My goal is for them to buy.
Yeah.
Me giving them the knowledge.
And are your clients mostly sort of high wealth clients? Like what if there was a first home buyer wanting to get in the market and follow this method? Is that a viable option for them considering all that's happening in the economy?
The answer is no, they're not all high wealth. If you're worth 0 to 10 million, you're probably in my market. So people that want to be in the 1% of Australian property investors that own 6 properties, that's really my market. Now, do I have wealthy clients? Sure, I do. But that's not a majority.
You made them wealthy too.
Yeah, but it's not a majority of what I do, yeah? It's a client, I don't know where to invest, I don't know where to start. Should I be buying here? What's the right structure? They're more my majority of my clients, so to speak. Now, my financial planning firm does have wealthier clients, sure. But what I started is my bread and butter is someone who's bought 1 property, 2 or 3, doesn't know how to set it up, doesn't want the hassle. Or the other side of it is a CEO that's making a lot of money but hasn't got time to invest because it takes hundreds of hours to research where to buy, what to buy, what loan should I get, should I cross-collateralize, should I do all these things? So what we do is we compact all those decisions to 6 hours. We make sure they meet 3-4 professionals, we hand it to them, and they can research and do their own due diligence based on what we've given them.
It's really interesting. Do you think, Chris, I mean, sort of an open-ended question to some extent, but do you think that the property investment market and the ability to build wealth through property is going to be redundant in the younger generation coming in, considering the property prices? The wealth will stay with the wealth will no longer be something that can be self-created at a young age. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do.
Do you think it's no longer the Australian dream for a young person to buy a house because it's so out of realm?
I don't think it should be the dream. It should be to create wealth through some different means because times are changing. So the advice that was given 10, 20 years ago might well be obsolete now. In this case, it is. So when I got into the market at 19. My father gave me $30,000 as a wedding present. I wasn't married. So I was the youngest of 4.
So you weren't married, but he gave you 30 grand for a wedding present.
Yeah,
That's nice.
this is the reason.
So you married real estate instead. Is
Yeah,
that
no,
what you're
I
saying?
said to my father,
engaged.
I said by the time,
though.
I said by the time I get married, Dad, the way I'm going to be 30, 40, but the inflation's going to eat my money. Give me my money now.
Yeah.
Because you gave I'm the youngest of 4. Give me my money now in advance. So, what do you want it for, son? I want to buy a car. He goes, no. If you want this money, you need to buy real estate. So it wasn't the money that my father gave me, it was the condition. That's when I started working for a Brisbane-based developer. That's when I became absolutely obsessed in real estate. Through that property, I bought, my first property was a 3-bedroom townhouse in New South Wales Street for 183,500 or 900. I sold it a few years.
183,000. That's
Yeah.
how much the property was. Yeah.
I sold
You
it.
can still get properties like that in rural areas.
You can, like we sell properties.
You can buy a CBD.
They were
apartment
400 or
like that
500.
too,
Yeah, but
Apartment doesn't depreciate.
No.
So, people say what you were saying earlier, people can't do it anymore. But they can. They just got to
What?
reconfigure their mindset to say, we can't do it in Melbourne, but we can go to South Australia, for example.
Well, that's right.
Regional
And that's why I'm sort of
Victoria.
trying to
Regional Victoria.
identify the clientele. But I'm reading a lot about inflation right now, and they're saying that the young people just keep spending and spending and spending. And the reason why they're not as switched on at work, they're not as ambitious, they don't want to put in the hours, is because the dream is no longer to buy property. They're just living with the money that they have to live a great life. Maybe social media's amplified it. But this whole mindset is no longer what the younger generation coming in are looking at. And that's sort of where
it's very
standing
true.
on
But
it.
what I think it comes down, the crux of it all, is financial literacy, is understanding. Now, do you get into shares and you leverage that and then build a deposit? Is that the right way to go? Now, it's a leveraged product. So, real estate.
Different. I think it's like the younger generation feel like they can't afford property anymore. So that's why they've changed their mindset, saying, I don't want to buy property anymore because I can't afford it. It's $1 million or $750 is the average median price.
What if you go a co-borrower? What if you go? What if you
they
go on
don't have
someone's
that
title?
education
But
anymore.
it's financial
Well, that's
literacy.
the thing.
Yeah.
That's where I guess the young people coming in don't have financial education. What do you learn at school these days? The what pi equals, like algebra. These are not things that you need in life. You should
EMC
be
squared?
getting. That's right. But there should be financial education because there's so
Let's-
much to know.
Let's take it back to real estate.
No, I want to keep fighting with you.
We're a business advisor show for real estate
Let's
agents.
get very interesting.
not-
I'm trying to get my own personal finances in order
Exactly.
right now in this conversation.
Have a chat to Chris later. If anyone else wants to talk to Chris and build their finances, give him a call.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. But Chris, most of our viewers are real estate agents. And what you've done and what you've accomplished, and you've got not just a sale, but you become a partner with your purchasers for life.
Yes.
You have them for financial planning, for finance, for accounting. You become a partner for life. That is a very valuable thing that not many agencies that I know of, any, do it. And not to the level that you have, that the sales, the volumes you do, you've got, if I can ask, your mortgage fund. How big is your mortgage fund?
It's over $500 million now and growing. We've got almost $1 billion under management. Very close to which we're tipping across
Which
all
is
platforms.
phenomenal, and no estate agency does that. So I want to talk about the transition. How do you get from a real estate agency to what you are?
Well, look, it took time, it took vision. So 17 years ago, 17 and a half, I started Reventon. 11 years ago, I started the finance. And my goal was to be accountable for every decision that we said to our clients. And when I'm referring to other business, even though I was accountable, I couldn't fully control the outcome. And I wanted to make it very, very easy for our clients to engage us, but very, very hard to disengage because we're dealing with all their finances. You guys deal with it. We go to work. Chris, your team will help us build wealth and continue that process. Every 6 to 12 months, we ensure that everything's on target. They can successfully repeat a process, which is what I did, what I documented and what I wrote about in Your Path to Wealth. The last chapter is brick on brick on brick, which means here's a process that works. Let's not set and forget it. Because what I always say to people, don't over leverage. So a lot of real estate agents, you walk in there and they say, these are the areas we sell. We look holistically. You can borrow 800,000. Let's look at less so you don't over leverage. Let's put these safety nets in place, which might be, if interest rates go up, you've got a safety net. Here's $30,000, $40,000 buffer. So if you lose your job, you've got time. Let's use not a 2%, let's use an 8% vacancy rate. And let's underestimate the rent to make sure that it's safe. So when we're buying the first property, your property's going up, so the equity's growing. But what if we can also make sure the loan is sustainable and affordable so it doesn't affect your lifestyle? So while it's growing up, we're also paying the loan, that's building equity faster. That means we can duplicate that process quicker and quicker, which is how people buy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in my case, when I bought, it was...
Has that changed though? borrowing has become so much more difficult. So, the old days of having 5 or 6 property cross collateral secured is harder these days.
It is.
How does that work in today's market?
Well, look, cross-collateralisation, we advise where possible to avoid it.
Oh, really?
100%, because what the bank wants to do is take as much security as possible over your assets. Now, they're going to tie in most cases, to a primary place of residence. Which property's got the most equity?
Primary place, well, should have your PPA.
Correct. So which is the first property that's going to go under the hammer? So what we advise the clients to do is never cross-collateralise. How much does the bank want? 20%. Borrow against that, set up an equity release, buy this property and keep them all individually standing. So if something happens, they take that individual security. Because the reason people don't like borrowing...
And you use different banks, I'm assuming, to accomplish that.
Sometimes. You can use the same banks, but you just need an... make sure...
Broker.
Yeah, you need a good broker. So with us, we look at it. Now, do we cross-collateralise clients? Very, very, very rarely. We explain exactly why and how if it's their last option. I prefer they've got very, very high incomes. In most cases younger because they've got more time to maneuver, but we're very, very clear. We try to avoid that as much as possible because all the bank wants to do is take as much security as they want under one roof. You've got 5 properties here. They will sell under the hammer. It's not market rate, it's quick sell rate now. Probably a primary place of residence. So we look at the cross-collateralisation of it. So the structure of how we set up our clients is one of the most important because making sure it's safe and secure, because usually one person out of the partnership is more conscious about their own home, their nest egg, whatever the case may be. We want to make sure that both parties feel comfortable with this process, and then we're going to duplicate it. But it comes down to the first appointment we do at Reventon, which is so important, is a discovery. Hey Rex, what do you want to do with your finances? What's important to you, Chanel? And we take all our notes.
Handbags are involved in this?
Whatever the case may be. Now we've had those answers. We've had those answers. Let's buy real estate. Let's make money so you can buy more handbags. Let's buy real estate so you can build more. Whatever the answer is, as long as you understand the implications of that, let's do it. And the next step is we put something in front of you. The first one is understanding what the clients want and giving them the right advice.
Do you charge? Where does the charge come in? If you're a client coming in, does it charge from the beginning, or is it charged when you purchase?
We should charge for the beginning based on the knowledge that we've got, but we don't. I back my team's information that well that I'm going to give you a plan in place. You're going to say, I want to work with them. Everything comes after. This is if you want to put a plan in place, it costs X. This is our service fee. This is this. This is that. This is that.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, because I back my team that much that by the time we show you what we're going to show you, hey, can you set it up for us?
Yeah.
Now, if you want to do it yourself, go do it yourself. I'm happy anyway because the reason I got into real estate, the reason I got into wealth creation is to help people make money. So if I can help you do that safer and more secure, I've done my job. That's the reason I get out of bed. Now, did I want you to use me and my team? Of course. But if you don't do that and you still make money, I'm still happy.
Chris, a lot of our viewers are real estate agents.
Yep.
And it's hard to replicate what you've got. I don't think you franchise it at this stage.
No, not yet. Maybe one day.
I think you should. We have a lot of franchisors on this show, and what they offer and what you offer is very different. But if a real estate office wants to try to look at cross-collateral, like getting more
services
on, could they work with you? How can they partner up with you?
It's a great question. I have a lot of companies that work with me that have one of our services and plug into the rest of them. I have real estate agents that want us to do their finance, their accounting, their planning.
And you give something back to them as well?
I do give a referral fee as well, and I make sure that their data, whatever services that they're selling, stay there. So we don't promote those services. I have 3 agreements where you can say, I don't touch those services. If they come to me, we split on half of them, or I just refer them back. I don't mind which way we set up the agreement. But I've been working with companies for 6-7 years. I've helped build them from the scratch where they just do real estate. Now they're full integrated. I do a 36-month agreement. I'll do the services. I'll teach you what to do.
Interesting.
And some say, we just want to stay with you anyway.
Yeah.
So I have quite a lot of companies that, like for my financial planning firm has 6 clients. I'm one of them. Reventon's one. And we get other companies like me. I have other clients that refer finance to us because
you're good.
We're good at finance.
How many choice? Yeah,
We've won 5
awards have you won? So.
We've won 5 Choice Platinum Achiever Awards 5 years in a row for finance, and we settle a couple $100 million a year. So we're quite good. Our goal is to do $500 million in the next year or 2 in settlements. So we understand, and these are small settlements, 400, 500. These aren't $1-2 million transactions.
So we do $500 million.
We do a lot. It's a lot of volume. So we understand exactly how to work. It's not like we're doing 100 transactions. We are doing so many. So we know all the nuances of how to settle a property, what are the ins and the outs. So when people come to us, they feel reassured and confident. Now, do things go wrong? Sure, but we know how to navigate through them.
You know each side of the equation.
Of course.
And Chris, for our viewers watching, where would you recommend buying right now?
It's a great question.
Not myself. I'm asking for a friend.
It's always the friend, guys. Always the friend. Now, I don't want to. I will answer that question, but before I want to preface that question with saying it's a very hard question to answer without knowing what's your net disposable income, what's your risk tolerance. Do you want to buy local? Do you want to buy interstate? There's so many factors to answer that question. Where's prime for growth? We sell a lot of properties in regional Victoria. So I was selling in Geelong. Southeast Queensland we sell, Adelaide. But the thing is, a lot of people are saying Geelong's a great area to buy, and they're selling there now. I was in Geelong in 2014 because I was researching the property clock and what were the forward indicators to why it's going to grow. I was selling 4-bedroom homes there for 390 to 400, renting at 420. They're 800,000 now. So
I've seen my family's properties down there have just gone absolutely.
I feel like you're one of the
crazy.
reasons Geelong's boomed. You sold so much in Geelong.
We did.
And developers that we co-work with, you pushed them to Geelong.
We did for a long time, and I think one of the reasons was one of my uncles as well. He bought most of the city and redeveloped the city. He bought over 20 buildings in Malib Street, redeveloped it. They called him the Monopoly Man. So if you look up Bill Votsaris, he's done a lot there. Wow. But there was a lot of key factors to why Geelong grew.
Has it boomed now? Do you think there's still more to go for Geelong?
It's a great question. A lot of people ask that. I think the majority of the big growth has happened. That's why now we look at Adelaide, because it's more affordable. You get the 5% growth. It's less risky. And what I say to our clients, when you said at the start of the show, having any leverage product is where you're going to make money. So if you put 20% on a $500,000 piece of real estate, it's $100,000, but you own 100% of the upside of that property. You don't own the growth on the 100 of your initial deposit, you get the growth of the 500.
I get what you're
So
saying.
buying in an area that can grow and you can replicate a process is so important. And I don't listen to the stories of properties crashing and this and that. In the areas that we sell, it's not crashing, it's growing and it's thriving. And people go, Chris, why is it growing there? People need to live somewhere, people need to invest, people are still paying tax, and people still have a shortfall in retirement, which means you need to invest. So we look at areas that we do a lot of market research before we enter. We do independent research, but the third test, which I think is the most important, would you, Chris, personally invest in that area and does your team invest there? Any area that we sell, I categorically will tell you that me and my team own multiple pieces of real estate there. We're probably our clients' neighbours.
What a selling point. Particularly, I mean, the proof's in the pudding. I mean, that's a very strange thing to say. Proof's in the pudding. But the proof is in when you go to speak to anybody, you want to know that the advice that they're giving them isn't just advice; it's proven advice, and you're obviously living through the values that you're preaching to your clients that come through, which is massive.
Yeah.
Well, if you're anything like me and you're going to book an appointment with Chris on Monday, I highly recommend that you do.
Before we go, I want to talk some other things. I feel like I'm a very hard worker. I've even got "will not be at work" tattooed on my
Selfies for 4 hours
ankle.
a day is not hard work, right?
So, but I normally start my day at 6 a.m. and finish at 10, 11.
AM or?
Depends what day.
Depends what day. But what people don't know about Chris, what time do you start at work? Because Chris has a habit of sending photos with his watch. Tell us the story, Chris. What do you do to your friends?
I go in and out of phases. I love working. It's a passion, as you can probably tell from me talking. And it's not uncommon for me to do 15 hours a day, 5, 6, 7 days a week. But I love it. It's not really, I call myself someone who's doing 80 to 100 hours a week that's retired. I'm a retired person that does those hours. I love it. If I'm on my off season, so I might do 16 weeks on where I might do 100 hours a week, and I might do 16 weeks off where I do 70, 80.
And he sends SMS. He sends photos of his watch.
My team like to send me
of 2 a.m. starts and then
2 a.m. start. What time do you go to bed?
No. I did that for 16 weeks, and then I take a break. I might be up from 2 to 3. I'll be in the office, and I might be home at 6 to 7. Then I'll work a couple hours at night. I might sleep 4 to 6 hours, but I go through phases. But it's not really work. It's something that I really enjoy. I'm passionate about. If I guess the weekend I'll dedicate to my kids, but it's something that I'm passionate about. So it's not really a chore, something that I enjoy.
It's like a hobby, right? People go home and they decide they want to watch Netflix or whatever they want to do. Yeah. But if you don't, that's not your hobby and your hobby is your job, then it never feels like work, regardless of where you are.
I don't watch TV. I get calls, are you coming home? What time are you coming home? Not that anything's wrong with TV. I just choose to do other things. I might want to look at something, read something, or watch something that I feel might benefit me.
Benefit, yeah. Self-knowledge.
Yeah, but it's what I enjoy. But I think hard work is important if you're going to build anything significant. People say work-life balance. I think it's work-life choices. It's the choices that you make. And one of my friends who was on my podcast said, an entrepreneur is someone that leaves a 40-hour job to work for himself 60 to 80. It's someone that wants to build something special and significant. And I'm yet ever in my time have seen someone build anything significant without putting in the time. I don't know if you guys have, but I haven't. And usually the ones that I feel that work ridiculously hard, they don't even feel that they're working hard.
It doesn't feel hard when it's something that's your own and you love it. It's not, it's not just, I don't like the whole work-life balance thing. I have to pitch it often because it's part of my job to do so. But I just think, why have work-life balance? Like work, it shouldn't have to be work and life. Your work should be a part of your life and vice versa. They should integrate with one another. If you love real estate and you're passionate about real estate and you're spending Saturdays at auctions because you love it, that's not work. That's not working a 100-hour week. That's doing something that you love and then getting paid for it in the same breath, in the same return.
And people like that do that. I started the industry because I wanted to help people retire financially secure. I wanted people to learn from my mistakes. That's why I write the book as well. I wanted people to understand what wealth creation is, because having more time, you could sit on a beach somewhere. You could work more. You could do charity, whatever it is. And like I tell my clients, there's no wrong or right. It's what's right for you, what's comfortable for you. My job is to give them the information when they talk about real estate. Is it a house and land? Is it a town? Is it local in the state? Is it new? Is it established? And it's up to them to pick. Because when a client picks something and they choose it, that's powerful. You're not saying, this is the product, this is where you need to go, this is why. I don't believe in that form of selling. I don't believe in that form of, this is why you do it. And which is why I feel our methodology is very successful when it comes to clients.
I mean, the dream, people want to make money while they sleep. They want to work hard in their 20s, grind in their 30s, and then they want to get to a point where they can invest and they can be laying on a beach or wherever they are, knowing they're making money. And real estate is a ticket to do it. And you don't need to be you don't need to have degrees or anything to do it. You just need to understand the market, and I mean, someone like you that can guide them in the right direction to be able to buy property and to earn income while they're sleeping. I mean, that's the dream.
Of course.
I'm so glad we had you on today, Chris, because I'll absolutely be going to Reventon on Monday morning. So yeah.
And do you know what Reventon stands for?
I did just hear it before, so I won't.
Lamborghini.
That's what it started with, the name, but obviously the meaning behind the bull is growth, strength, intuition, financial optimism. The original logo was with a shield because you got to protect and what you love, which was my work, my career, helping my clients, which is so important. But it's everything's about what it symbolizes, and a bull is a growth market. So that's what it all comes down to. But originally the name was taken from the Lamborghini Reventon. I was a 24-year-old. I love that.
Did you come up with the name in Vegas on this Wild Boys weekend that you had?
No. That was before.
Well before that.
We had that
before the penthouse back there.
No, fair enough. Well, Chris, thank you so much for taking the time to come out and speak with us. If you want to meet with Chris or discuss any of his business methods, we'll leave all of his details in the captions below. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thanks, Chris, for another episode of Real Estate Renovators.